真的非常讽刺啊。去年夏天我穿的这件衣服
It's truly ironic. Last summer, I was wearing this outfit, sitting in this spot recording a video about being laid off by a foreign multinational company. I never expected that just 1 year later, I would experience unemployment again. Yesterday was my last day at the company, and when I look back at how I felt when I received the news over a month ago, I feel lost and confused. At 41, as a woman in the IT industry, these 3 labels seem like a curse, weighing down on me and leaving me uncertain about what the future holds. Adding to that, finding a new job last year was extremely difficult. At one point, I thought I would break down on my last day at work, but surprisingly, I didn't. I quietly returned home, holding the parting gift from the company, a box of mooncakes, as if nothing had happened. I can't help but wonder why I was so calm. Over the past few months, I've tried doing some side gigs, but they haven't progressed well. Looking for a new job hasn't been any easier either. By all rights, I should be feeling anxious and disheartened, yet I remain strangely composed. So last night, I took a moment to calm down and reflect on my feelings, and I found a preliminary answer for myself. Since finding a new job is so difficult, even if I do land a new position, there's no guarantee it will last long. So why should I stress too much over whether I'll find a job? Yes, we women over 40 might be considered slightly older, and indeed many people in the workforce might look down on us because they think we belong to the eliminated generation. But we know that our abilities are still there, and our experience is still valuable. Even if we need to start over and perhaps change careers, we may go through a period of uncertainty and confusion. But rather than trudging down an ever-narrowing path, it's better to start fresh and give ourselves a new opportunity. Damn the so-called midlife crisis, damn 35, damn being eliminated. Even if we switch fields, us older female programmers can still rise again, work hard, and continue pushing forward.
Hello， 大家好！现如今的裁员大潮中，我也是其中的一员啦。
The wave of layoffs has swept through, and I've become one of its casualties. In the past, I often saw news about layoffs online and thought, since I work in a state-owned enterprise, the likelihood of being laid off should be low. I convinced myself that it wouldn't happen to me. However, I never expected that by the end of 2024, this would happen to me, a 30-year-old female programmer. The cause of this event was when my boss called me in for a conversation and told me that I had been included in the layoff list. When I heard the news, my emotions were incredibly complicated, sad, wronged, and even somewhat ashamed. I couldn't help but question myself, why me? Why was I the one chosen for the layoff? I began to wonder, without this relatively good-paying job, how would I survive? I'm actually a liberal arts graduate, with a not-so-high degree, already married but without children, which makes finding a new job even harder. What made it even harder to face was how I would tell my parents that I had been laid off and was now unemployed. This matter has dragged on for some time. The company had hinted about this as early as February, but now it's already December. Every day at work felt excruciating. The workload remained heavy, but there was always a sense of pressure, as though I could be laid off at any moment. I kept thinking, when would this process finally be over? During this period, I noticed that there were increasing reports of older female programmers being laid off, and many of my fellow sisters were facing similar predicaments. I began to realize that perhaps I wasn't the only one facing layoffs. Gradually, my anxiety began to ease, and I started to calm down. Today, as I finished writing the last line of code, HR contacted me again, saying they would start processing my resignation paperwork next week. Since I've been on leave these past 2 days and working from home, I plan to go to the office on Monday to discuss severance compensation in detail. During this time, I've decided to use the next few days to learn more about labor law so that I can approach the negotiation with greater confidence and conviction. I also want to say to the fellow programmers who are going through layoffs, or those who have already been laid off, being forced to leave may not necessarily be a bad thing. As the saying goes, a blessing in disguise. Since the company has decided to let me go, it means this company wasn't the right fit for me. Perhaps this is an opportunity to explore broader horizons. Life is like a vast wilderness, and what lies ahead may be the best arrangement. The future might bring us more exciting opportunities.
31岁女程序员被裁到第120天。
A 31-year-old female programmer has now reached the 120th day since being laid off. During this time, I actually escaped multiple rounds of layoffs, but I didn't expect that by the second half of this year,
I would finally fall victim to the layoff fate. On that day, I was informed in the morning that I would be laid off, and by the afternoon, I had completed the negotiation with the company and signed the severance agreement. At that moment, I really felt confused and helpless. I was completely unprepared to face this. My heart was filled with doubts. Why me? Why was I laid off at this age? Especially as a married woman, my age and family situation make it even harder for me to find a new job. I often couldn't sleep and would find myself scrolling through recruitment apps in the middle of the night. The more I looked, the more anxious I became, and the anxiety only grew stronger. I suddenly realized that the ancient saying, "First settle down, then pursue a career," seems to have turned into a huge obstacle for women in the workplace. During these few months of unemployment, I've tried to contact a few IT companies for interviews, reflecting on my own performance and preparing for the next step. There was one company where the interview process went relatively smoothly. After 4 rounds of interviews, they expressed that they would send me an offer. Unfortunately, the offer was never finalized. Although they told me it was still under approval, I was never able to contact their HR department again. This experience left me feeling both helpless and somewhat amused, whether they found a better candidate or I didn't meet other requirements. These are things that should have been communicated clearly. However, it ended with no clear response, leaving me with doubts and self-reflection. I couldn't help but ask myself, what went wrong? Am I really not suitable for a programmer role? Is the job market for programmers in 2024 really that bad? Or is it that women are not fit for programming jobs, which has led to my inability to find the right opportunity?
奉劝各位女生不要轻易入行 IT 行业。
I want to give a piece of advice to all the girls. Don't easily enter the IT industry. Because once you do, it's like diving into the deep sea. It's unfathomable. Take me as an example. I've been in the IT industry for over 10 years. Just look at my hair. Doesn't it seem like I've got a balding spot? And there's this saying circulating within our IT industry. Working in IT really means you're sacrificing your life and hair. Look at my hair. It's fallen out a lot. In fact, I once spent over 30,000 yuan in Shanghai on hair treatments, and even up until last year, I was still spending over 10,000 yuan on medications to maintain it. Moreover, in our IT industry, to put it bluntly, it's a youth-driven industry. After the age of 35, you generally hit a big bottleneck. Recently, I saw many former top programmers posting online, and they were all facing unemployment. Some of them even posted screenshots of job listings clearly stating, "We're hiring programmers under 35, which is quite uncomfortable to read. You see, many girls in our company are also struggling with hair loss. Their hairlines are gradually receding, and their hair is getting thinner. They're also starting to look for hair growth and anti-hair loss products. But working in our industry really feels exhausting for women. Every day, we need to constantly learn new things. It's like killing brain cells. We have to keep charging ourselves and learning new technologies to avoid being left behind by the industry. As people often say, the life of a programmer is so busy, there's hardly time to date, and the age at which male programmers get married is generally later than most. Of course, every industry has its challenges and brain-burning moments. In our field, we're basically burning CPUs every day. Sometimes, I really feel like, out of the 365 days in a year, there are about 380 days when I don't want to go to work. I'm always thinking I'm done, I want to quit. But no matter what, I have to keep going. For women, when choosing a career, it's really important to think carefully. Entering the IT industry is like jumping into the deep sea. Once you're in, it's hard to turn back.
30岁以上的女程序员该何去何从呢？
As a female programmer over 30, how should I develop my career? I would like to share my personal experience over the past 8 years, focusing on my work status and current thoughts. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in computer science and technology, and after graduation, I naturally entered the internet industry and began working as a developer. It has been 8 years since I started development, and during this time, I have worked at several large companies. However, as I got older, I realized that my technical skills have not improved significantly. What's worse, in the middle of my career, I took a 1.5-year leave due to pregnancy, which has had a significant impact on my professional development. Looking back now, I realize that I am facing a tough situation in finding a job. As a result, I made a decisive choice to switch careers and move into software testing. In our industry, a programmer around 30 years old is usually considered to be among the best, capable of making achievements in both technical and managerial areas. Unfortunately, I do not fit this mold. Although I have 8 years of work experience, I have not advanced to a managerial role, nor have I become an architect. I'm still just an ordinary programmer, and my technical abilities are not at a very high level. What I require from myself right now is to focus more on self-management, especially to overcome my procrastination and make time to improve my professional knowledge, constantly enrich myself, and stay sensitive to new technologies. A few days ago, a classmate of mine told me that since I am getting older, she suggested I switch to a software testing role. I plan to give it a try next year and hope I can succeed. Sigh, it really feels like being a female programmer at an older age is tough.
给大家汇报一下，其实这2天我接收到了一个面试，然后接收了这个面试。
I want to share something with everyone. I'm 33 years old this year, and I've been working as a programmer. However, I've been unemployed for a year now. Recently, I received some interview invitations and had discussions with a few companies through recruitment software. But in the end, I chose to decline all of them. In fact, the interviews were scheduled for the previous days. That night, I talked to my husband about it on the phone. After he came home, we sat down and had a serious discussion. My thought was that even if I succeeded in an interview now, I might face the same unemployment problem again in a year or two. Plus, if I continue with development work, the pressure might even increase. So after considering everything, I decided to completely give up on the software development career path and officially withdraw from the industry. Now, I'm informing everyone. I'm no longer competing. If you all want to keep competing, go ahead. But I can't do it anymore. I am formally applying for withdrawal. Today, I did something big. Let me show you. I've decided to take the teacher qualification exam. Today is December, and the exam is scheduled for September next year. I'm not sure whether I can stick with studying during this time, and whether I'll pass the exam. But I've already signed up. I've chosen to specialize in physics. I've been thinking about it all afternoon, and finally made the decision to switch careers and become a teacher. It's now 9:55 p.m. I don't know if I'm really suited to become a teacher, because I've been out of work for a year, and I'm also not sure if my exam application will be approved. But I hope I can stick with it and get the teacher certification. Honestly, I'm not sure how much this teacher qualification certificate will help my future career development. But at this point, I think it's best to just get whatever certificate I can. First, get the teacher qualification certificate in hand. After all, the teacher from the exam training institution I attended once said, nowadays, a teacher qualification certificate is like a driver's license. Almost everyone has one. But if I don't have one, does that mean I'm falling behind? I must pass the teacher certification exam next year. Let's go.
程序员今年好不好找工作？有没有找工作的说一下啊？
Finding a job as a programmer this year. How's it going? Are there any friends who are looking for jobs and can share their experiences with me? I just checked the recent recruitment situation in our company. I looked at the resumes of the last 3 programmers, and they all came from companies that had either downsized or cut salaries, and they are now looking for new jobs. The situation has changed a lot compared to previous years. In the past, one of the main reasons programmers would switch jobs was to increase their salary, as changing jobs usually meant a salary boost. At that time, many companies were competing to hire programmers, and the demand was high. However, now the internet and software industries are facing a lot of difficulties, and the demand for hiring has greatly decreased. The need for personnel is no longer as strong as it used to be, and many companies are cutting down on staff or even experiencing redundancy. In professional terms, this can be called excessive personnel. I also saw a funny joke. Some companies list on-time salary payment as part of their benefits. Originally, being paid on time should be a given, but in the past 2 years, being able to pay salaries on time seems to have become a major selling point, even an attractive condition. Indeed, over the past 2 years, it has become much harder for programmers to find jobs, and the competition has increased. I'm not sure how everyone feels about this.
If you are over 30, but not yet 35, and you are still working as a software developer in an internet company, I can tell you that your situation is a bit awkward. The reason is that when internet companies face layoffs, they will first consider cutting this group of programmers. You may wonder, why us? I believe there are three main reasons. First, the technical threshold in internet companies is relatively low, especially for some basic development work, which many other companies and platforms can also do. Second, many programmers, especially those over 30, often have family responsibilities, which may lead to distractions in their personal lives, affecting their focus and flexibility at work. The third reason is that programmers in this age group often have many years of corporate experience, which makes them less willing to accept PUA-style management. They tend to work more independently and are harder to control by superiors or company executives. These factors combined mean that during layoffs, companies are more likely to cut this group of programmers first. So, if you happen to be in the 30 to 35 age range and still working as a software developer in an internet company, what should you do? Today, I will share two key pieces of advice. First, programmers over 30 must anchor themselves in a particular industry and strive to become business experts in that field. You should not limit yourself to just writing code every day. While writing code is the basic job of a programmer, being just a coder is easily replaceable, especially in this fast-changing technological era. If you can also understand the business logic behind the code and become a compound technical talent, your value will greatly increase. This will make it much more expensive for the company to replace you, which in turn increases your stability and security. So, crossing the boundaries of technology and becoming an industry expert is the key to a long-term career. Second, as we age, if you continue to compete with younger programmers in terms of technology alone, it may be difficult to maintain an advantage. At this point, you might consider improving your communication skills or management abilities and try transitioning to higher-level positions, such as project manager or product manager. If you can demonstrate strong communication and coordination skills in project management, you could completely transition into a project manager role responsible for external communication and client liaison. This is also a very promising career path. Additionally, improving management skills and transitioning to higher-level positions, such as becoming a product manager, technical manager, or even a CTO, will bring you higher salaries and career security. Furthermore, the demand for these management roles in companies will continue to grow, so your career development will become more stable. So, for programmers who are over 30 but not yet 35, I suggest that you plan your career path as early as possible. If you don't prepare in advance, by the time you reach 35, you might very well become one of the first to be laid off. What do you think about this issue? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Your support is very important to us, and we will continue to bring you better content. Thank you once again for watching, and see you next time.